Now, here's what it's very much like a club scene here, which is good because we've got the greatest new panel that our conference is proud to bring forward. Is one on comedy, which is so very appropriate because so many comedians have the comedy covered, and now we've got technology coming into the comedy scene. We have a panel that I'm going to bring up the panelists for now called Funny Business, which you're going to absolutely love. And sorry about that. And our Funny Business, we have bringing in, first and foremost, comedy.com, Barak Shragai. And I'd like to bring up another technology company, Wit TV, Ophira Dagan. And then we have a host of comedians playing different roles. Jason Horton, a famous YouTuber and sketch comedy. Logan Paul, who's one of the top Viners around, digital comedy star. And Phil Ranta from the Collective Digital Studio. All of them are doing business with Israeli companies and doing business in their line. And we're going to be laughing out loud as we listen to the session on Funny Business. Take it away.
Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Is this what I sound like?
Yes.
Ugh. So I'm going to sit down here and just be like one of you guys and moderate this thing. We're going to talk about funny business, comedy, and how technology enhances that, hopefully, and how you guys make it work with what you do. I want you to go down again and say who you are, where you're from, and kind of what you do to expand on you. Start with Phil.
Sure. My name is Phil Ranta. I am from Collective Digital Studios. We are a digital media company with a couple different outlets of how we distribute. So one is we work with a lot of digital influencers like Logan Paul and Epic Mealtime and Rudy Mancuso and Rhett and Link, a lot of top-tier talent. We've got about 1,000 people in our network that are doing about 2.5 billion monthly views on YouTube. We also have a division where we make TV, films, and kind of premium level digital content with platforms. Right now we have the Epic Mealtime show on the FYI network. Previously we had the Annoying Orange show on Cartoon Network. We did the Fred show for Nickelodeon. We've got a movie coming out soon called Natural Born Pranksters with a bunch of large prank channels on YouTube. And yeah, the majority of what we do, I would consider to be in the comedy space. So, makes sense.
Logan?
What's up, guys? My name is Logan Paul. I am a content creator, a digital influencer, some may say. So I'm from Ohio, and I moved out to Los Angeles to pursue entertainment beyond social media. On social media, I have about 17.2 million total following. Across all my socials. My content is basically comedy. I find people like to laugh, and if you can make people laugh, you can garner a following pretty easily. So I moved out here to do acting, directing, producing. Just wrote my first movie. Just got financed, so hopefully we'll be shooting in February. It's an all-social media influencer movie with a built-in audience of about 300 million people. I'm lucky enough to be the liaison between all those people because all these social media kids are also my friends. And then as far as acting goes, I've booked a couple TV roles now. I was on Law & Order. I've done 2 movies. They're both coming out next year. And then I'm slated to shoot one more this year before I head home for Christmas, which I'm excited for. So yeah, that is the long and short of Logan Paul.
That's it? Lazy. Ophira?
I feel like nothing in comparison to you. Oh my God. So I'm Ophira Dagan. I'm the founder and CEO of WeTV. We are a comedy studio incubator. We try to do our content as digital first. I would say we're kind of in between the creators and the platforms because we do not have a platforms on our own. So our method is actually to invest more money and time over development, and the scalability later comes up with the pickups that we're doing with the distributors. We have one show currently going at F Comedy, which is the digital comedy network of Fusion, which is a JV between Univision and Disney. Our next show, which would be a digital show, will be coming out of Keshet International, which is an Israeli company, but here in the US, they're known for Homeland and Dig and such forth. I'm proud to say we work with Jason Horton.
Who, me?
And later this year, we're planning to launch also our mobile-first content on comedy.com.
Barak?
My name is Barak Shwagai, and I'm the CEO and co-founder at comedy.com. We are building the first comedy network for the mobile generation. We built a product that brings people together to watch and laugh at short-form comedy that works great on mobile. We are working with talent on creating short-form comedy original, that is comedy.com's originals. Our company raised $1.5 million from the Israeli VC Rhodium and a few more digital media executives from Maker Studios, Yahoo Screen, Hulu, Netflix, and other great companies. We are based in LA and have an R&D center in Israel. And we are pursuing, when we built comedy.com, our goal was who is going to be the Comedy Central of the new generations. And this is where we are heading to.
It's a great URL, right? Comedy.com. I bet you wonder, like,
True.
how did he get that? It's probably there is no better URL than comedy.com.
True. So there was a website called comedy.com 10 years ago, co-founded by Dean Valentine, who was the CEO of UPN. And they had an amazing success in bringing more than 5 million users, but back then brands didn't believe in digital video and didn't put ad money over there. Phil can tell this. So, but right now we have mobile, we have social, and we have brands believing in digital media, and the opportunity is definitely there. So he gave us the domain and said,
Just like
go,
that.
good to go. Yeah.
Then millions of dollars just rain from the sky. That's how that works, right?
Sure.
I want to start the conversation. I'll just leave it, anyone who wants to answer, because it's something that I think about when I make when I make videos. Or and I'll start with let's just say you already have content, or you work with people that have content, or and how do you make that adjust? And I know Logan, you're on Vine, and you have and how do you take what you already have and make it work with the technology that's out there to either repurpose what you have, or just to, I think the goal is to get it in front of as many eyeballs as possible. I guess we'll say money comes second, right after getting people to laugh, right? Can we do that here? Is it okay? Is it okay to say that? Okay, cool. Well, I'm saying it. So how do you like make that work with stuff, with content and inventory you already have? I'll leave it to anyone to answer.
I mean, there's platforms have been proven, social platforms over the past 5 years, to come and go, right? Less going than coming, right? What it requires for a platform to really take off is to have the cool kids adopt it, make really cool stuff that the audience can then watch and say, I want to make cool stuff like that too. And then that builds the next generation, Like, there's a lot of little Logans out there who are watching Logan Paul content being like, how do I become the next Logan Paul, right? As I'm sure on YouTube, you were early days on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Whether you know it or want to acknowledge it or not, there was a lot of people watching Jason Horton sketches, and they're the reasons why they're doing content now. So yeah, I think that there's plenty of room for platforms out there. I think that platforms just need to find the right influencers that can help launch their brand, and then have them aggressively promote and build content together.
Logan, do you when you have so many Vines that have done well, do you find ways to utilize other platforms? Because there's people that watch Vine, and there's some people that only watch YouTube, or they only look at blogs or Facebook or something like that. Do you repurpose your stuff and try to make that work?
Yeah, so here's I found the best and my favorite way to describe this. So when you look at a browser on your computer, there's a language behind it. It's DOS. Now, content, specifically for me, comedy on the internet, also has a language, and I've been fortunate enough to speak that language fluently on Vine. However, as you can imagine, each platform has its own language. Facebook is different than Twitter, which is different than Instagram, which is different than YouTube, for multiple reasons, whether it's duration of videos, what people look for, what your audience is, which is obviously all valuable information. But yeah, I actually just started experimenting with the different languages of each platform. Facebook specifically right now is, and I heard someone talking about it earlier, Facebook specifically is popping off for video, which is lucky for me because people like videos and people like to laugh. So currently I'm the fastest growing Facebook personality. I have 250 million views this month alone. I got like 200 million last month. And so I'm really starting to, it's exciting because when I first started Vine, I was looking like, what is that? What do people want to see? What works in 6-second storytelling? For those of you who don't know what Vine is, it's 6-second videos that loop. It's a fun little app, check it out. But yeah, each platform does have its own language, and it's important, especially for brands, to learn that and master it for each respective platform.
I would like to add, because our business model is different, as much as we would like to use influencers as a still small startup, I think the key for creators is thinking ahead what's going to be the end game, and actually having a multi-platform strategy. Because I think these days, just those days of what I call spray and pray, just putting something on the internet and hoping for the best doesn't work. So usually when we signed up a show, we always think, how can it play on the world of YouTube? Maybe we should cut up a character, do it with a Viner as a short form. Maybe we should attach a distributor, which is more premium, to build around it a series. And what will be the end game, as I said, so we can scale up? Can it work as a format in an international world? Does it have enough legs to do a linear series? So I think this is another advice to give creator, take the time to plan and do a multi-platform strategy.
So we have been measuring more than 10,000 videos, both on mobile and desktop, to see how users are, what is the user behavior on different platforms. And clearly there is major differences between how people wish to consume comedy on mobile versus desktop, versus television, of course. But still you see that although the vast majority of comedy videos in 2 years will be watched on mobile, creators, most of them still think desktop first. So like Logan said, the pace of the comedy should be faster on mobile. You gotta make people laugh in just 10 seconds in order to keep them engaged, because for example, on Facebook, people are always one swipe away from the next post, or they're always one tap away from the next app. So the attention span is almost zero. And if you don't know how to create comedy that works good on mobile, it's going to be very challenging for creators in 2 years to become very popular. And right now, mobile offers an amazing opportunity for creators because they can create comedy that goes more viral, that they can produce in very cheap, just 30 seconds funny video. It's not like 5 minutes episode on YouTube. And mobile offers a huge opportunity, but like Logan said, and I agree, creators should think what works on Facebook, what works on YouTube, and adjust their content accordingly. We know for sure that on YouTube, so Facebook, for example, if you've seen Logan's Splits videos in New York, it had more than 25 million views in just 24 hours. This is more than House of Cards. So he did it in 24 hours, but this is how Facebook works. You get 24 hours window to create something that can explode, but you don't have a long tail. People will not come back to this video again. So it's a different mindset. On YouTube, for example, people would watch an episode, but then you have a huge long tail of people coming back again, and the video can be even 7 minutes, 8 minutes. So different platforms mean different type of comedy, and creators should definitely create accordingly. This is the number one rule today.
I'm actually gonna flip that now and say, how does technology and all the different ways that you could deliver it, how does that change, or how do you encourage the people that you work with to maybe think before they maybe make something, or maybe if that doesn't happen at all? I know personally I do. I think like, well, if I make this, can it be cut up into a Vine? Can I tease it on Facebook and then link out, or and how would it go on Twitter and the various other sites? Is there anything that you do to kind of pre-planned even before the camera turns on, or whatever, that you do, taking technology in consideration?
Yeah, I mean, Logan, I think, touched on it very well before, but every platform has its own game, right? If you want to launch onto another platform, you have to know the content that's resonating. You have to know why it's resonating. And as a content creator, if I say I want to be the next big Viner, you have to realize what the pacing is and how you want to define yourself within that pacing and the kind of content that's out there. I think the big mistake that a lot of people make is this idea that I have content on YouTube, I want to be big on Facebook, so I'm just going to take YouTube content and I'm going to plug it on Facebook. And they might be able to do okay doing that, but Facebook's a very different game. It's social video, right? And social video and YouTube video, which is quickly becoming the TV of the internet, right? It's not so much like depending on shares as it is depending on algorithmically surfacing based on watch time. It's a very different game to play. So the Splits video in New York, for example, gets right into the point. It's funny in the first 3 seconds. It's highly shareable. People from New York, I have a feeling, were the ones that were sharing a lot more than people from otherwhere, but people from otherwhere would be able to see it more. Those are considerations you have to make, right? And something like that on YouTube, it would do fine, but it probably wouldn't do as well because it's not as much of a sharing economy there. It would depend on people watching something for 5 minutes in order to surface up at PewDiePie levels or Good Mythical Morning levels. So you have to know the rules of the game. The more you know the rules of the game, the more you know how to play within them, and then you can have a better chance for success.
I'm sure all of you have been, I know personally, I get sometimes inundated with like new apps. Like everyone's got an app and they're like, use our app for what it is you're doing. Is there any, in your experience, anything that you're like, here's what, besides that it's not one size fits all. It's not just because it exists doesn't mean you can just, it's not a plug and play type thing. It has its own language. But have you ever dealt with any apps and be like, here's what they were doing right, and here's maybe what they were doing wrong in their approach to work with you or work with your people?
So live streaming right now is obviously everyone's hopping on live. When Meerkat came out and live streaming was all the buzz. My manager Jeff Levin, sitting right over there, was next to me, and when it was we were at South by Southwest, and we played around with the app a little bit, and I looked at it, I'm like, this is not going to work right now. This is not going to work, because at the end of the day, and I live by this motto, content is king. And on Meerkat, while it's cool to be able to see what people are doing, like it's boring. It's boring, and it gets bored. And unless you're a fan of The Rock, like I am, even if I am, I'm not going to sit there and watch what The Rock does for 60 minutes unless he's taking his time to, during that 60 minutes, make good content. If he's doing a workout and I want to follow along, great. No one's doing that right now. And so, yeah, you do have to, like when these new apps are coming out, everyone always wants to hop on, let's Periscope, let's do Meerkat. No, don't waste your time right now. Until people figure out the formula for what works on these, focus on the stuff that we know is working. For example, I know Facebook is working right now, like I said, so I'm putting all my effort into that. And based on your last question, I don't even shoot Vines anymore. I shoot for Facebook. Luckily, my mind thinks in that 6-second spurt, so every 6 to 12 seconds, I'm keeping people latched, and then I'll cut for Vine or cut for YouTube or Instagram.
That's the first time I've heard somebody make something for Facebook and then secondarily think about Vine or YouTube or whatever it is, and that's a very interesting conversation. That the technology that's already out there is still so powerful, but is there room for more? And of course, there's room for more, but will it be worth using?
Well, what's really funny about Facebook in particular is that there has to be 2 actions, right? They have to find the content, and then they have to click the audio button, right? And that's pretty revolutionary. They're watching the video, and then they decide whether or not to engage based on turning up the volume or not, right? So you've seen a lot of people play with the idea of putting big, chunky text across the screen. A lot of news places have started doing that with a lot of success, but people like Logan, who have very visual content, it's really going to be favored on something that starts with no audio.
I have to say, as I said, we launched our first show. It's going simultaneously on YouTube and Facebook, and I've become a huge fan of Facebook. We have better views on Facebook, and I'm looking at myself how I mean, sadly, I now consume my news through Twitter. I don't have time to read newspaper anymore. I just follow people. I would read basically the headlines and figure out if it's worthwhile for me to go in. I do the same on Facebook. So Facebook is great. And when you think about it, the whole video revolution on Facebook happened because of the Ice Bag Challenge. That was a huge draw, and I think they're just doing amazingly well with that.
We talk about, especially, I come from YouTube, you thought about the mobile views, made up a lot of views, and are they monetized? How does the monetization or the money you could make play into, because Facebook doesn't have its own monetization, but there's discovery and as long as, theoretically it does, but how does working with technology and the monetization of it, how does that factor in with whether maybe you will work with them or not? Is that ever something you guys ever think about? Money? You guys ever think about money?
We're Jews, always.
Yeah. Just checking.
Sorry,
I just got to
I'm
keep checking in,
allowed to
making sure
make
you guys
those
have the money
jokes.
still.
Yeah.
It's not everything, though, right? So there's two kinds of revenue, and I feel like a lot of creators lean back on passive revenue too much to say, I put up a video, you run an ad, and then based on that, I get money, right? Which, if you think about it, it's not a great value for the brand, right? The engagement is happening outside of what's happening in the actual video. It's a hassle. People don't like to sit through ads. The ad has to be really good and interesting and targeted in order for them to engage positively, and that's almost impossible when they're clicking on a Jason Horton video and you're stopping them from watching the thing they clicked on, right? So, building fame is, I think, feeding into the future of what monetization is going to be, which is really directed, in-video, branded stuff, right? Which is brands enabling creators to make cooler stuff and, in return, getting that positive affiliation, right? So I welcome things like Facebook not necessarily turning on ads right away, because first of all, they need to figure out Content ID first. They need to stop the theft. They need to stop the promoter channels. And once they have that stuff figured out, they need to establish their brand marketplace in a way that's outside of just stuff in the side column that say sponsored, right? They need to figure out what that is and how to get that positive engagement. I think they have time to figure that out, and if they figure that out, they could be the #1 video platform in the world in 2 years. We'll see.
Does that, for the rest of you guys, like, is I guess the question is for, and something that I think people think about is, getting what you think is great and funny and the stuff you believe in and invest in and the time you put in. Is it more important to get in front of more people over like what? Because I feel like there is that back and forth. Like for me, it's like I just love brand awareness, saying the brand is me, over like, I could get a little bit of money here, but I could maybe stop with the monetization and stop being so greedy with it, and then maybe getting more people to watch my thing, because things like ads might be like, I don't really know much about this person. I'll never find out how great this video is or how great this content is or how this show is. But obviously you guys run businesses and have to live and stuff like that. You wear blazers and stuff, so you got big bills. How does that like when you're thinking about that, like does money come into play a lot when you're working with technology or new stuff, or is it like, or you're just like, I just want to get what we believe in front of more people?
We have to rely on money because we do not have a platform, so distribution is factored as #1 decision in our strategy. I cannot reveal a lot, but most of the deals that we're having do have some upfront money. We usually give exclusive licensing so we can monetize the content till the end. So for me, as someone who's, as I said, in between platforms and creators, money, sadly, is the #1 factor.
Also, brands today want to be funny. Brands are doing a lot of extra work, to engage younger audiences, and they're using those influencers to do that. Because they know how to do it smart and how to integrate those brands. The challenge for brands is to talk in the same voice, like we said, to talk in the same voice of the influencer, so it will not feel too commercial. But there is an amazing opportunity for brands to be funny today, using and working with digital comedians. This is one monetization, but the main thing that might change the way comedy is being created, the whole economics, is if someone really manages to create a subscription service that works among younger audiences. Because when cable was invented, no one thought that someone would pay for something like that. No one thought. And today it became part of our life. People are paying $150 a month, and this world is going down. And it's going to be replaced by subscription services that charge $5 a month, $6 a month on over-the-top platforms, and people will pay just for what they would like to see.
YouTube just announced this morning their subscription services, if you've seen the trades.
True. So the ones that will succeed in redefining the respective categories are the ones that will also create a great business in this vertical. Of course, that creating great business in this vertical relies on having a lot of traction and eyeballs, for sure. So brand awareness and everything is important. But creating this subscription service that people are coming and paying $5 a month to watch Logan Paul, and together with Aziz Ansari doing a funny series, this is something that younger people would pay. But this is something that doesn't exist today.
Does anyone have any questions? Or are they all answered? Every question everyone had was answered. I just want to check to make sure anyone has any questions. Yes? Yeah. Okay, so let's say we have the eyeballs. How do you generate advertising, I guess, kind of across the board?
Sure. So, couple ways. So, first of all, we at CDS we have a pretty sizable sales team who's spreading the gospel of digital, right? Because there's a lot of Fortune 500 companies right now that aren't playing in the space in a relevant way, that have hundreds of millions of dollars going out, but they're still buying out-of-home advertising, magazine advertising, because that's what a CMO understands, and they just want to do it, right? So we do a lot of going into the room, saying what influencer content is, explaining the different kinds of advertising that can happen on digital platforms. So outbound is a given, right? Just trying to take those ad dollars away from methods that we feel don't work as well. Then number two is a lot of these brands that say, okay, I want to play in the space. The immediate way to do it is to go on somebody's page, see the business inquiries link, tap in and go, right? Which is becoming a huge part of business, right? Is to just direct reach out to the creator and say, I've got $5,000, I want to tweet, and work that deal, right? The thing that's scary about that, though, is that there's a lot of people who say, a lot of creators who didn't go to business school, don't know what fair market value is, and there's a lot of brands out there that are saying, well, it's digital, so let's see if we can take it for a ride. So, I think there does have to be some marketing or market leveling going on. But yeah, there's a plethora of ways to reach out to influencers, but we always feel that the best way to go is to speak to somebody who does digital advertising, say how much money you want, say what your goals are, and then figure out a package that maximizes those goals.
What about you, Logan? Did you deal with advertisers? Have you ever? I'm sure you had people kind of hitting you up all the time, right? And you probably parlay them to somebody else or some other people. But could you kind of advise, just as a creator and as a person, how maybe advertisers working with an individual can kind of speak the language more or work with you?
Yeah, so it is. It is all the language. Like whether you're a brand or a personality like myself, like Taco Bell, for example, they know how to speak the Twitter language. They're good at it. And I think to answer your question, the advertising comes in when brands can either A, understand the language, or B, pair with an influencer who does get the language. And a lot of us they're good at it. So when you tie your brand to us, your content's still going to be really good because we know it. We know how to interact with whatever audience you're, pushing the content to, and it works.
Great.
On our end, again, as I said, we're in the middle, so we are creating specifically series for brands. We're thinking which industry right now can create a funny business around them, and we're writing an entire series integrating this from the get-go.
Great.
Yeah, for a company like Starbucks, for example, creating 10 episodes with influencers, something that is funny, to create a series in a Starbucks branch, this is something that's super engaging, highly shareable. People love it. It's better than any TV advertisement and costs almost the same thing.
Great. Any other questions? All answered? Everyone's all well informed? Awesome. Do you guys want to add anything else? What you have going on, or anything you want to round this up with? Oh yeah. Hi. Well.
Fabulous. Thanks for asking.
I just wanted to see, so I see that all of you are great influences in comedy and in digital media. Now, how apprehensive were you to step into that platform, and what was your push that you can give advice to others who were not convinced and still aren't? I mean, here we are at a digital media conference, an Israel conference, but there's a lot of digital media being talked about here, and still people are not convinced. I've noticed that there's a lot of companies that are in this room who still haven't embraced their Twitter accounts, still haven't embraced taking advantage of this, and I know we're talking a lot about it, but really, could you help give advice to some of these companies as to really how to embrace your accounts and be bold and to really take advantage of that opportunity? And can you just tell us what it was that really pushed you to embrace those opportunities and go full force so that you could be here today sharing all this with us, please?
Thank you.
I actually haven't embraced Twitter fully, I have to say.
It's a fad.
But for myself, I've been in the business for 20 years. I've started my career in Israel. I'm actually, as Barak say, I'm Israeli TV has started. I helped to launch channel, first shows, moved to here because I was really hoping to make it in Hollywood, almost made it. And when I'm saying almost made it, it means that I've managed to sell a show to HBO, I've managed to sell to a few networks, and everything got stuck in the system. And for me, as someone who's also doing business and creation, the writing was just on the wall. I just didn't want to be dependent on Hollywood, and I just wanted to use digital to control my life better and control product from inception to the end, so that's why I formed WeTV, and I think everyone should embrace it. I recommended Jason here as our interviewer because in my eyes, Jason is the true artist entrepreneur. This is a guy, I'm just going to give a few compliments.
Go on, I'm not stopping you.
I learn on new platforms from Jason because every time I see a pop, I'm on Meerkat, I'm on Periscope, I'm on this, and I think this is something we should all do. We should not be dependent, and we should actually utilize everything else to our benefit. But as I said, it's not about just putting it out there. Logan is very, very lucky to be in his position, so it's about targeting and figuring out how it can work for us.
Look, there are 2 billion people on social media. It's only growing. I think you have to. If you're a company or a brand that still wants to be noticed, you have to stay relevant. And it's only growing, so there's no reason not to hop on it, or you're going to be left behind. And yeah, like I said, I think there's a way for every brand to master it and find their language somehow. Because, let's be honest, some brands it's going to be harder to do. Because say you're a tech company and you want to get big on Twitter. Some may argue that could be difficult because Twitter's audience is not, I guess, people, let's just say, that are interested in tech. Now, you will have those people, though, and you will form that niche audience, which is extremely valuable. So, yeah, if you're not on it, hop on it.
I don't think it's the social media site's job to prove to you that it works, because it's already been proven time and time again. It's for you to find your place in it. Like for me, for example, is Tumblr is something 7 months ago. I had no idea how to use it. I had no idea how to use it. I didn't ask myself how it works. I didn't ask my father how it works. I found like a 17-year-olds or like 17-year-olds, and they were like, "No, you're doing Tumblr wrong for what you're doing." And I just learned, you got to be willing to learn something new and take a risk and kind of get out of your comfort zone a little bit. And because everything I feel like I've learned there's an audience for literally everything. Sometimes I wonder, like, how is terrible stuff rising to the top and bad stuff is at the bottom? Because there's really an audience literally for everything. So I think it's kind of being willing to surround yourself with people that understand it, instead of sitting there like kind of banging your head against the wall going, how do I become make like Twitter work for me or something like that. So that's what I do personally.
I mean, if you look at the KPIs that a brand marketing division has, right? They want brand awareness, they want positive affiliation, they want to be able to retarget and remarket, they want a mailing list, right? All of these things can be done by properly utilizing social media, right? If you look 20 years ago, people would have to, send out mailers, try to send out coupons with those mailers, try to drive to a point of purchase, and then they know the success based on how many coupons are used, right? Now you get a follow, and you know that you have that bond and that communication with your consumer. So if you're not building that, then every campaign after that's going to be just as expensive as the first one. Whereas right now, Taco Bell, they can send out a message and get tons of engagement right now. If they have a new Enchilito that comes out tomorrow, they can sell it to their people for zero cost, except for a probably expensive social media person, which, if you're a brand out there, is worth getting the expensive social media person. Don't get the cheap one. Get somebody who's actually built something in the past. But yes, I mean, social media is important based on, being able to save money 10 years down the line on your marketing budget.
Yeah. Any other questions? I don't know how much time we have. I think we're running out of time. Oh, we're getting ushered out of here.
Your time is up. But it's been very funny and very illuminating, and actually we learned about the business behind comedy. So that's, and as you keep pointing out, it's the money, honey, that is sort of the draw. So we want to thank you on behalf of the Israel Conference for talking about comedy, the technology of it, the content of it, and threading it through the Israeli innovative way to bring it more to the fore, so that we can enjoy it ever so much. We have a gift for each of you that I hope you'll enjoy.
Thank you.
It's a cartoon character out of Israel that's emblematic. The nickname is Dosh, but it was a fine gentleman from Romania named Srulik who moved to Israel in the 50s. And I thank you. A big round of applause for our comedy session. Thank you very much. We'll take a quick snapshot just for the Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal wants to know a little bit more about comedy.